Okay, so today I want to do a duplicate impression of this full upper denture. So I want to do a copy technique or a template technique or just a copy of this denture in order to make a new denture. So I'm going to use some condensation cured silicone, a stock tray and some petroleum jelly as a separator. And now I'll show you how to do it. So we're going to take a couple of scoops of both of these, and we're going to mix them together. Make sure that everything's mixed and you can't see any streaky bits left. There's a nice block colour. That's the beauty of using two different colours. You can see when it's mixed in. I'm going to load the stock tray. And then this, I'm just going to push this half down into there, making sure that the teeth are covered. It's a little bit like the flasking process, where we sink everything in plaster, but this time we're doing it in the silicone. Make sure all the denture is covered in there. It shouldn't take long to set. That's that. And you can keep adapting this and changing this until it sets. Just make sure that everything's covered up to the top of the denture itself. And this should just take about a minute to set properly. Now there are other methods of doing this. You can use alginate and some copy boxes, but I find that the alginate usually takes about 5 scoops of each to do both. So to do the teeth side and the model side will take about 10 scoops of alginate. It takes a couple of minutes to mix it and a little bit of time for it to set, so it takes a little bit longer and it uses quite a lot of material. So I find this is a little bit easier. Now that is set already. I can now just trim this with a scalpel, the excess. So it's much like we did when we did the flasking. See if I can get rid of that little bubble there. Okay, so that's that bit done. I'm going to cut a couple of little V's into this just to help locate it later, just some location notches. Taking care with the scalpel. Just helps hold it all together later. So I'm going to get a little bit of the separator, petroleum jelly or Vaseline, and I'm just placing it onto the silicone. It doesn't need to go onto the denture itself because the next bit of material that I use won't stick to the denture base, but it will stick to this silicone. So I make sure that I Vaseline that so I can get it apart. So it's very important this stage, do not miss this stage out. Otherwise you won't be able to separate it later. So again now, 2 more scoops. I'll do 2.5 actually. There we go, that's about 2.5. And then again, now mix this up, making sure there's no streaks left in it. And we're going to apply this to the fitting surface, making sure it goes into all the areas of the fitting surface. And then push it over and just make a ball of it over. Push it into those location bits that I've cut out there. And then we let that set. Now the shore hardness of this material is very good, so it will be very stable and will stay in one position, so I don't need to use a tray on the other half. I only really use a tray on this half so I can locate and I can limit the amount of silicone that I'm using. Otherwise I tend to use too much silicone. So I'll let that set, and again that will take about a minute to set. But the reason I use the separator is because this material is the same, and it will just bond to the base material, and you won't be able to separate it, or you won't be able to separate it easily. If you put the separator in there, it is quite easy to move. Right. Okay, so this is set now, so I want to just try removing these 2 parts. It's easy with a wax knife. And if you can just place it into, and we separate the 2 bits. And it should come apart. We've got a replica of the fitting surface, and in this side there'll be a replica of the polished surface. So I want to remove this. Now you've got to be careful doing this because you don't want to fracture this denture, so gently prise it out. And then we've got a replica of the fitting of the polished surface. Now, in order to do this copy denture, what I want to do is I want to do the teeth in wax, and I want to do the base in acrylic. So to do the teeth in wax, I'm just going to run some wax into here. So I'm going to heat some wax up, and I'm going to use a little kettle to do this. I just want to run the teeth in wax because they're the bits that are going to be cut off later and replaced with stock teeth. And I want, obviously, the palette side of it in acrylic, so it's nice and sturdy and it can be used for doing a bike registration. Or later we can do a wash impression in that. Just make sure that all these teeth get poured. I'll do half and then I'll turn it over and do the other side. I have to hold this in one position till it solidifies, and this will take about a minute again to start to solidify until I can move it and do the other side. just a little bit more on this side. Okay, and that'll do that bit. Okay, so once that wax is solidified, I'm going to get a scalpel. I'm going to cut a couple of notches out the back, and these are just so I can pour some acrylic in there. So just a little bit out that side, and then again out this side. Again, taking care with the scalpel. And then these two, they should fit together. The location notches are visible there, so I fit that together. And then what I want to do now is, with some wax, I'm going to seal around these two joined bits. Seal the two together. This means that when I come to pour the acrylic in there, the acrylic can't escape. I take care not to spill any of this sticky wax on your fingers, because this will really burn you. Okay, so that's sealed all around now, the periphery. Okay, so I want to mix some cold cure, so methyl methacrylate. This is the monomer. Monomer always goes in first, and then the polymer. So I want to mix it quite fluid in order for it to be able to pour. Need a little bit more liquid. So the mixing ratio of this is usually about 3 parts powder to 1 part liquid. And that's it, just mix it up. And then we want to just start to pour this in. You've got to be careful pouring it. A little bit more liquid in that. See if I can pour a little bit on the other side. hopefully that will all pour through. Okay, so once the acrylic's set, I want to remove this, carefully remove it. And we can see that the full base is running there now. So I want to trim this up now to make this into a denture shape so the patient can actually wear this and it can be tried in. So I'm going to remove it from this. Taking care. And we can see the teeth are in wax and I've got the acrylic base. Now all this excess at the back there that I've run through, I just want to quickly trim that away. It's a little bit thick, I'm just going to use a cutter to get that off. And I'll just trim that up now with a tungsten carbide. So all the wax will be correct because that's just followed the teeth shape. It's just the bits of acrylic that need trimming. Check that, taking these third bits off. So that now can just be trimmed. Any of the excess wax can just be smoothed down again. And that can be quickly cleaned up, polished up, and that will look like a replica of this, and that can go in the patient. We can do a try-in with that, and then we can also do a wash impression because we've got this sturdy base, and that's how we do a copy. So that's the first bit. Each of one of these teeth can then be sectioned off, and a replacement tooth can be placed in its appropriate place. So that's how to do a copy, a silicone putty copy of a existing denture.